Dearest listeners,
Book babes and book bros.
welcome to Book Babble. I'm Rachel,
And I'm Tanya, and we're the Witlet Women, your hosts for today.
and today we have a special guest star. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Melissa Lam, and I write contemporary and fantasy romance. I just rapid published my trilogy, Forbidden Love trilogy, back in April, May, and June. It's forced proximity, men in gray sweatpants, angst, mystery, suspense, a little bit of like thrills. And basically the concept is that the main character, who's a guy, and he actually ends up telling most of the story, which I think is really unique to some romance, dual POV romance books. He is on this mission to find out the secret behind the main girl character's immunity to his powers, but she doesn't know that he has powers, and they live in this world where it's a secret that people even have powers at all. So that's kind of the concept there.
You had me at Men in Gray Sweatpants. Um,
I
and
usually do. I have most people at that.
yeah, it's giving like, I don't know if you ever heard or ever watched the TV show Heroes, but it's kind of giving that a little bit, the secret powers and whatnot. So I'm excited to read it. But anyway, Melissa, are you ready to babble?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I will put 5 minutes on our timer and we can get started.
So, the first question I always ask is what inspired you to write these stories?
Yeah, I got inspired when I read another book that I felt like was like, oh, this is gonna be like a little bit shady, and I don't want to be shady, so I'm not gonna say what book it is or who it is. But I read it and it became such a big seller that I was like, well, if this can make lots of money, something that I write could make lots of money too. Like this, something that I write could also be a bestseller. And it made me realize it made me feel like I could do it too. So that's like also a good thing. That I read this book and I was like, and I really liked it. But I didn't think that it was like the best writing or like the best story. And so I kind of started coming up with this idea of what would interest me, and I didn't even know what tropes were at the time, but I started thinking of like some certain scenes or like the types of characters that I would get excited about, and boom, it just kind of happened. I started writing it, and 10 years later um this series came about and was published. That's how long it took me to write the three books that I have here. So yeah.
So even though you rapid published, you just already had them written from this 10-year period that you've been working on them. Impressive. So, Melissa, over the course of your writing career, what character did have you created that you're most likely like you relate to the most? Geez, I couldn't get that out.
Well, the person that I relate to the most is Javina. She is this like funny, sassy, like black best friend for the FMC. And she's also a part of the LGBTQ community. That's which is funny because I'm not black and I'm not part of the LGBTQ community at all, but I relate to her in a sense that in her personality is that she cares about people, but she's also honest and blunt with them. And she also is, uh, you know, the type of person that will just be there for you, but also tell you how it is. So that's why I relate to her.
She sounds amazing.
I think she is.
So, with being a pretty experienced writer, do you have any kind of like advice you would give to new writers or people who are looking to publish?
Yeah, my biggest advice is to get feedback, but also it's like knowing what constructive feedback is and knowing what just straight up negative feedback is, but really being receptive to that and taking that. So I take pride in the way that I built my beta reader team and how they have really helped shape my story. Because if you've got 10 beta readers and nine of the 10 are saying the same thing, that this is something they aren't jiving with, As an author, I feel like it is our responsibility to figure what, even if we like that scene, even if we like that character or we like that part, I think that we should listen to those voices. But if it's one person out of 10 saying it, I think that you could take or toss that type of feedback. So that's my biggest advice is to be receptive to the feedback, but knowing what to take and what to toss.
That makes a lot of sense. So Rachel asks a lot about the technical side. I'm more of like the emotional side, and secrets. So can you spill any secrets or hidden Easter eggs about your books?
So I'm a big Swiftie. And yesterday was a big day for us Swifties. I do a lot of like subtle Taylor Swift references, whether it's like, because she is really good lyrically about being relatable, right? And I kind of like, put those types of things into the books. But unless you were a Swiftie, unless you were looking for it, you probably wouldn't see it. Like there might be some lines where I use the words all too well, but it fits in with the story and it's not like in there
Yeah.
as a way to like be completely this is a Taylor Swift reference because it still fits into the dialogue or it fits into the story. Um, and I think and I can't remember if I ever deleted it, but there was a line, and maybe there still is. It's been a while since I've read my books. There was a line where it talks about I think it's inner dialogue, and it's a million little stars that just align. And again, if you're a Swiftie, like you're like, oh, that's like that sounds like this song, and it's because it kind of is. So that's a little bit of my Easter eggs in there.
I admittedly am not a Swiftie, so I need to sit down with one of my Swiftie besties and have them search through your books with me so I can find these and feel accomplished.
I mean, they're subtle. They're very subtle.
I am gonna I think one of my friends, Melissa, is also like a really big fan of yours. So I'm gonna sit down with her and see what I can do.
I'm always curious to see if people find them because they're so subtle that I feel like if I didn't write it and I was just reading it, I would think it's just the book. I wouldn't
Yeah.
think it's a Taylor Swift reference. So.
Well, that's the best part about Easter eggs. All right. Well, congratulations, Melissa. We have made it through our 5 minute round. So this part of the interview will go on our social channels, and we're just gonna keep chatting. So the rest of this episode will go on YouTube and Spotify. Typically, I try to give the floor to Rachel right now, but I did have some more questions. So you had started talking about like advice, and you got into beta readers. What would you say is like the most important part of the writing journey from start to finish? Like, where do you put your most focus on aside from writing the actual book?
Yeah, I feel like I put the most focus on self-editing. And I think that this is where it's the longest, but it's also the most frustrating. So I feel like a lot of authors, whether you're indie or trad, might get caught up on because if you're like a perfectionist like me, you might spend 10 years perfecting 3 books and over perfecting it. Like it, you know that you should be done when you're changing like little words like from walk to stroll and you think that that makes the sentence better instead of oh I need to cut this sentence, I need to cut this scene, I need to change this character or change this dialogue. And that's what I feel like I spent like 3 of my 10 years doing is just changing those tiny little things. So I would say that self-editing is the part that I feel like we need to learn as authors and writers the most to spend time on, but also to do it way more efficiently than Melissa Lam.
So I have a bit of like a bit of a psychological question now. Do you think there was a reason that you spent so much time perfecting these? Was it like you were scared to put them out into the world, or was it something different? Because
Yeah,
that's a huge hurdle for indie authors.
yeah, it is. And I would say it's less of the fear of putting it out in the world because I always knew that I wanted to put it out in the world. It was more like I never felt like it was good enough. And even now, if I was to pick up this book that I, again, wrote for 10 years and just edited over and over and over for 10 years, changing words from walk to stroll. I still feel like I could go in here and change so many things and make so many different things better. But there it comes to a point as an author where you have to be like, I gotta let it go. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of the path that I came to is just instead of thinking that it had to be good enough for me, to say that it just has to be good enough for everybody else.
That makes sense. I was gonna ask you how you got over that hurdle and you answered that. That's amazing. Okay, I will stop babbling and let Rachel go.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing is always like I said, the technical pieces. And so, what has caused you to kind of choose to do self-publishing versus traditional publishing?
I love technical questions. I just because I feel like there's so many different opinions and there's not really a right or wrong answer, but I love getting other people's perspectives on it, which means I also like sharing my own perspective. So the reason why I picked indie versus trad is I wanted control. And you don't have a lot of that in the traditional publishing world. Like once you sign that contract, depending on what your contract looks like, it's out of your hands. Like you are not in control of who is gets edited, like who edits it and how they edit it. And sometimes like they just tell you the release date and they you don't even get to see the cover. You don't have a say in whether they change the names of some characters or whether like they cut certain scenes or like what your or like what even color schemes that your covers are. Tanya's like baffled. Like
The
yeah,
names that
I watched
I'm
her face go from
shocked.
like okay to shocked, and I was like, ooh.
I'm still stuck on that. Like changing a character's name without even talking, absurd.
yeah. And like from my knowledge, it a lot of it is once you kind of sell that book, it's no longer yours. So you collect royalties on it, but it's theirs to do whatever they want with now. And I remember a while ago, when you're like in the author world or in the writer world and you're meeting these different people, like um I remember hearing from somebody that they were like, I didn't get to see the cover until I walked into a Barnes and Noble. Like, and to me, that's baffling to me because I'm like, how is that the reality for some people? And so for me, like it was like a no-brainer almost because I wanted so much of that control. Like I wanted to be in charge of what my cover looks like. I wanted my characters' names
Yeah.
to stay the same. I wanted all of the scenes that I wrote to stay in the book. So yeah, there's just a lot of control that you have to give up when you sign a contract. So
Well, it's a
I was
no-brainer. I'm just shook right now. Like
now here's
I
the thing. I'm not saying that that's the reality for all
right,
traditional
no.
authors. And there's also hybrid and and maybe they have a little bit more control, but you kind of like over the years I kind of hear these horror stories of like, there are horror stories of indie publishing too, and then there's the horror stories of the traditional publishing. And to me, like the good of being indie outweighed the good of being trad.
Yeah.
So, and even though it's more work for us or that we don't get as much exposure, I think the world is changing right now to where a lot of indies are getting more of a space, they're getting more of a platform, and they are selling as much or more than trad published authors. And
Yeah.
and to me, that's worth it if I get to keep my control.
Absolutely. And you are 100% correct on that. Like, shameless plug here. My friend Kim and I, we started a marketing and PR company specifically for indie authors. Like, it is a requirement to work with that you have to work with us, you have to be indie. Um, because we see what you're saying that the indie authors don't have as much of a space as traditional publishers, and we're like, why not? Their stories are just as good. Like
Mhm.
they're some most of the time they're even better. So like let's do it. So I love that development recently where indie authors are getting more of a space, and I'm glad that you're a part of it, especially after working as long as you did and as hard as you did on your books.
I would not suggest somebody takes as long as I did because I was definitely being nitpicky with every single word and being like too much of an over perfectionist. But I also feel like I did it at the right timeline for me. Like it felt right to publish it when I decided to publish it. And I also felt like I was being patient because I waited until all three books were done and edited before I released them. And I feel like sometimes we don't have a lot of that patience as humans. Like book one was done 2 years before I even wrote book three, and what it was all edited and everything. So don't take as long as I did, people.
I know your readership is probably like, heck yes, this is completely published. I don't have to wait. Like, you're not waiting several years between publishing them, so they're probably like bowing down at your feet for that.
Well, for me as a reader, I won't read a series unless I know it's done. So
I
I'm guilty of that. And I know that's awful of me because like I understand that there's some, especially indie authors out there who will fund their next book with the first book, but I'm not gonna read it.
That's when you buy the book and then you just let it sit for years until you have the next one.
Next one comes out. Like I would do that. I here's the thing. I'm also the type of reader where as soon as the book is closed, as soon as the audio book is over, as soon as the ebook is out, and I've sent it back to KU, I forgot the names of the people I was just reading about. Do you expect me
Same.
to remember the plot from 2 years ago? No.
It's so bad. Like I have to like write my reviews immediately. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm talking about later. Like
You can literally ask me, like, oh, what did you like about that book? I just closed it 2 seconds ago. I couldn't tell you the plot.
life of a reader. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm also the reader where like if I'm done with the book and I shut it, I immediately open the next one. I'm on to the
Yes.
next.
Yeah, like I read two books yesterday, and I wanted to start a third, but I needed to go to bed. But that's exactly how I am too, Melissa. Like there, it's amazing. Oh,
Yeah. But I just know that me as a reader, I wouldn't have wanted to wait, especially with the cliffhangers that happen at the ends of book one and two. Like, I just don't think that I, as a reader, well, first off, I'd be really mad. And I know people are mad because if you read the reviews, like, there are literally people who are like, I'm mad about that ending. And I'm like, good, you should be. Now pick up the next book because it's available.
yes. Immediately, yes. Get the next one. That's amazing. Well, Melissa, we are just about at time, and this is when we typically open the floor to you for any announcements or anything that you want to tell your readers. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, I only have one announcement. Book four is coming out in February 19th. It is a standalone in the same world as the trilogy. So the trilogy follows the bad boy musician and the good girl who wants to be a baker. And then book four follows the best friend of the bad boy musician. So, and it is just a standalone. It's a little bit darker, it's a little bit spicier because that fits with that character. So, I'm really excited about that.
Well, I for sure know I'm going to be catching up on all of your books before then, so look for my
Yay!
reviews soon.
Do
All
you
right.
think that I could ask a question?
You can go for it. Yes.
Yeah, so I was curious because Tanya, your face when I was talking about like some of the realities for some trad authors where you were like, "Oh my gosh, like that's just wild to me. I could never have even like imagined that." Like from on your podcast so far, what else has been surprising to you? You guys get to see and talk to so many different authors and like so many personalities come onto your show. What's something that sticks out to you? What's something that's surprising to you?
So I believe it was Sarah Chapman, who we had on, if I'm remembering the correct episode. She told us all about this nonprofit organization that she used and worked with to hone her skills. Like they have courses available to Anyone who wants to learn to like edit, they want to learn to publish their own books. And it's a nonprofit, so it is absolutely free. They accept donations. Um, but you can actually like learn how to line edit, you can learn how to do all of these things on your own for publishing, and it's completely free. So like hearing about those free resources has been very eye-opening to me and very surprising because I didn't realize how many resources were out there that were free. And then when I hear people say, like, I have these obstacles, I can't fund it, blah, 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 I'm like, okay, let's get you, hooked up with these resources. I have this sheet here for you of, well, I don't actually have it. I have like a list of things I can tell you. Um, like, you can go get help with this at this location, at this, with this company, and just being able to have those resources available to help other indie authors has been like game changing for me.
That's huge. And I'm sure that the reason why some people feel like they can't go out and there and find it or they can't fund it is because they've never heard of these things or they don't know
Yeah.
that they exist.
Yep. Rachel, what about you?
Been racking my brain because I feel like so much of this is such a new world to me. As a reader, I never considered anything about like all the pain of the process, but how beautiful it can be too. So I think that's part of it. Is just realizing that a lot of authors, indie or trad, are so they go through so many of these editing processes and these different, you know, even just being, declined from different publishers and things like that, and just knowing how emotional it can be, because as a reader I didn't realize that until I spoke to the authors and how just invested the authors are. They're just as invested as we are as readers. And I guess in my mind, when I'm pumping through these books, I don't think about that. I don't think about the author as a person. And so just seeing the humanity of that person. I'm also a therapist, so which is ironic because I don't do the emotional talk. Tanya does. And so just hearing the emotion and hearing the humanity behind the words, I think has been my favorite and also most surprising piece of it, because each person is so different. And you'll see somebody come in who's like this real, like happy person, and then they're like they have the darkest work ever. And I love hearing that, they're working through their trauma to get through that, and that part of their process and healing was writing the story. And so just, I don't know, I guess hearing the stories behind it and getting to know the person has been not shocking in a bad way, but just like eye-opening. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so funny we're flip-flopped right now. Like, I tend to be more interested in asking emotional questions, but the technical side has surprised me. Rachel likes to ask technical stuff, and the emotional side has surprised her.
I know. I was like, what is this?
We're flip-flopped. We make no sense.
And that's the cool thing about us as humans is that we can have some of these contradictions because that's what makes us people and relatable. Like, I love that.
Yeah. So what has surprised you? I know we're over time at this point, but now I'm curious. What has surprised you the most in your journey?
I have a couple of surprises. One is that I was really surprised by how different everybody does it. I always thought that it's a book, you have to do it this certain way. And then when you go out there and you're doing research on how do I find this or how do I do this, or even just like, again, just publishing, there's so many different ways that you can publish. You can use this program, you can use this program. How do you format a book? You can do it this way. The chapter headings have to start in the a third of the page down, but they don't always have to. Like, it's a creative process, and because I'm so driven by like structure and rules, I thought there was a structure for like
Yeah.
um how do you do your copyright page, like, and that, like, that's not like a standard. So that was really surprising to me, and it was, I'm gonna say, like, a hurdle for me to have to jump over to realize that. And I was telling my editor this a while ago because I was like, well, you know, I have these questions or these technical questions, and a lot of the time the answer is, well, it's up to you. And I'm like, I don't like that.
No, yeah.
I want to know what I'm supposed to do. that was really
Yeah.
eye-opening to me, surprising. And the other thing that really surprised me is just how supportive people are of indie authors. Like I feel like, and I think it's again, it's changed. The world is changing now. The publishing world is changing now because now a lot of people are going indie, and it's their first choice. I feel like the mindset of and the myths of being an independently published author are that you did it because nobody wanted you. You did it because you um, didn't have money, so your product is a lesser product than a traditionally published book, or you did it because you tried and you didn't try hard enough. Like that type of like misconceptions. And I
Yes.
feel like I because I was told a lot of those things, and after doing my research, I feel like it flip-flopped that mindset for me. But I felt like a lot of people still thought that. So when I entered like the author world and I was in, on Bookstagram and stuff, it was so eye-opening for me to see that a lot of people only read indie authors. A lot of
Mhm.
people are out here championing for them.
Yeah.
And they're joining street teams. They're only doing arcs. They're like, and these are all things that for me, I was like, I had no idea that people were so supportive of indie authors.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was a happy surprise for me.
I bet. I mean, I think it was when I joined Bookstagram too that I realized how many people actually are in the indie world and stay in that world. It's incredible to see it. I love being a part of it because, like I said, I have Iris. That's the my marketing company that I do just the indie stuff for. Rachel and I typically stick to mostly indie authors on our own Bookstagram page. So yeah, I mean, it's an incredible experience being a part of it.
Yeah. And I don't know what Bookstagram was like when it maybe first started, but I just feel like people's mindsets are changing about what being
Mhm.
indie means. And that was surprising to me. And I love that because I feel like we kind of need that. We need all the support we can get.
Agreed, agreed, 100%. Yes. All right. Well, we are like I said, we're over time, but we had a great conversation. And I would love, oh, I just hit my desk. I would love to have you back on because I feel like there's so much more to talk about. So we'll have to connect and get some more time scheduled.
Yay, I love it. Thank you so much for
Yay.
having me on. This was my first podcast
What?
ever.
You did such a great job. I never would have noticed. Like I had no idea. You were
I
so
really thought
great.
you were like a pro at this. I'm
I
like,
know.
whoa, this is intimidating. She's great. Yeah.
No, I just like messaged my street team before I got on here, like, wish me luck.
Oh, you did great. Tell them that you had like we're giving you a round of applause because you did such a fantastic job.
I don't think we've talked to one author this long ever. So you did amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still
Great.
have so many questions. That's why I was like, I need to get her back on.
You and my street team knows that and with Rachel being so much on the technical side, and that's like what interests you. I love talking technical stuff. So they'll like ask me, like, what about doing a Kickstarter? And I like tell them reality of what a Kickstarter looks like and how much money that actually brings in. Or they're like, well, what's the editing process look like? And I'm like, well, they didn't realize that my book was edited 2 years before it actually came out. Like these are like things that I love to talk about. So me and Rachel, but then also Tanya, with you being so excited about the emotional side of it, like my books are super angsty and people come into my DMs swearing at me and I love it. I'm like if somebody comes on and it's like, I hate you so much for that ending. I'm starting book 2 right now. And they start cussing at me like, F you for doing this to this person and blah, blah. I'm like, okay,
I
but did you
have
cry?
I have like this entire section of just full on angsty books, so I'm gonna add yours to it. I love the
Yeah.
angst. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you
Oh,
so much.
thanks, Melissa. I'll reach out and we'll get some more time scheduled.
Yay, thank
All
you.
right. Have a
Bye-bye.
good day.